morning, everyone. Just wanted to thank you guys in advance for taking your time to be here and to listen to my story. I'm just curious, but how many of you guys are morning people? Raise your hand. And then where are my night owls at? I'm actually both, so I like to burn the candles on both ends. It's a struggle. I don't like business hours. Anyways, I also wanted to thank for the breakfast tacos. Those are actually one of my weaknesses. Well, let me rephrase. Free breakfast tacos are my weaknesses. Yeah. It's actually only been recent that I realized that I am still adjusting to this new season of my life, because every time there's free breakfast tacos, I eat as much as I can because I still have this like starving artist mentality. But today I only ate 2. Only ate 2. There's more. Just the vegans ones left, if y'all. Anyways, still have one. First off, I just wanted to give photo credit to the photographer that took all the pictures on my slideshows. Me, myself, and I. So when you guys are looking through the slideshows, a lot of these self-portraits I took, I did this 15 years ago, and it's mixed into some of the self-portraits that I took last week. So I'm excited for you guys to see them all. Anyways, let's get right to it. My name is Kathy Tran, Kathy with a K, the right way. I am the founder and CEO of Kathy Tran Creatives, which is a multimedia company here in Dallas. A lot of you guys may know me as a photographer or a photojournalist. But let me tell you who Kathy Tran is today. On Friday, May 19th at 9:14 a.m. Need my clicker. I am an artist, a creative entrepreneur, a business owner, a philanthropist. I started my own art scholarship. So if you guys do get that $1 million, let me know. Yeah. I am an engaged woman. Will my soulmate please raise their hand? But oh, here it is. And I'm also a first-time homeowner. I went from a 1,600 square feet, 1 room, 1 bathroom loft that doubled as my photo studio to a 5,500 square feet, 6 bedroom, 5 bathroom compound with its own photo studio space called Kessler Studio. But most importantly, I am Coco's mom. Coco with a K as well. So let's talk about my business. I have been doing photography for the last 15 years. It's actually the only job that I've ever had, besides working for Banana Republic. But I have just been so fortunate that the camera has brought me across the world, and it has put me into rooms where I am the only petite Asian woman in. Shout out to the shorties out there. Some of my favorite people that I have photographed is President Joe Biden, to Mark Wahlberg, from Denzel Washington to Bishop T.D. Jakes. I'm actually his personal photographer. I have photographed Leon Bridges and Post Malone, and one of the most epic thing I did was when I photographed Leon Bridges for Billboard magazine, I put my signature in the back of the chalkboard. So if you have that copy, save it and sell it later. And then I shot Post Malone when this was his first ever performance. This was all before the tap, so actually I photographed pre-Malone. That is a clean face, that is a clean canvas. You won't see that anymore. Anyways, these are the publications that I have been shooting for the last decade. I've shot for Dallas Observer, D Magazine, Billboard, Advocate Magazine, many other magazines. I also had 2 of my art pieces in the Dallas Museum of Art 2 years in a row. The first one is a self-portrait where it was facing the fear of the monster under my bed. Instead of being afraid what was under there, I saw possibilities and opportunities. The second piece was a painting that I did by hand, and I named it Ministering the Little Girl in Me. And all of this came from just being in therapy at that time, so that's where the vocabulary came from, and that's kind of funny that it's now foreshadowing how I shoot for bishop, and now it's Ministering the Little Girl in Me. Here are some of the companies that I have put my magic touch on. I have shot for Denny, 7-Eleven, Virgin Hotel, AT&T, and Main Event. Today, I feel confident. I feel proud. I feel grateful. And I feel powerful because I have been able to create this dream lifestyle for myself before I even knew what it looked like. And now that you guys know how amazing and iconic I am, let me tell you who Kathy Tran was 20 years ago. I felt trapped, I felt abandoned, and I felt misunderstood because I was a young girl that dared to dream. And you're probably wondering how this baddie right here made it in front of you. How did I get from A to B? The answer is self-acceptance. And I'm going to tell you guys 3 things that I did in my life that implemented a way for me to get to this position of self-acceptance that you guys can do too. First, it was cultivating my circle. I'm very intentional about who I have in my life. I looked for inspiring best friends, and I even got a new set of new parents. Yeah, you heard that? It's I got a whole new set of parents, and no, I didn't Amazon Prime them. But like I said, I grew up in an abusive home. My dad was an alcoholic, but I have forgiven him since then because as I got older, I recognized how hard it must have been for him to be a Vietnamese American, taking the dirtiest jobs to support his family, even while he was an alcoholic. So I have forgiven him since then, but regardless, it just wasn't the environment for me to grow in, especially the dreams and visions that I had for myself. At that time, I felt really lonely, I felt empty, worthless for sure at that time. So I looked for love in all of the wrong places. I ended up being pregnant at 14 years old, and I had to emancipate myself to be an adult in order to seek care. And this was all while I was in between homes. But luckily, shortly after, I was adopted by my elementary school counselor and her husband, Connie and Dale. They really supported me throughout high school. They took me to plays, museums, poetry slams. I even learned how to put a napkin on my lap at Maggiano's. That was very new for me. But if it wasn't for their support and self-acceptance, I wouldn't be where I am today. It really meant a lot to me, and they had no idea what they were getting into. They knew I was really different, and I'm so glad that they nurtured that. But all of this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my Asian mom. She noticed that Connie and Dale really loved me and really cared about me, and so she put her ego aside. She put all the embarrassment aside, because within our family and community, it looked like she failed as a mother because she lost the whole daughter. Her daughter left the house at 13, 14 years old. But to me, she is a strong woman because she took that chance, took that opportunity, put everything aside, and allowed me to live with my elementary school counselor. And so if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So shout out to another shorty, brought another shorty into this life. And for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month purposes, I just wanted to let you guys know where my mom came from. This is a picture of her and her family in Vietnam before they boarded the plane to come to the US. Her dad, my grandpa, fought really hard for my family to come to the US. He was granted access, he was able to bring his wife, all 8 kids, and the woman that's in the yellow, that's my mom. She is the oldest of 8 kids. So when she came to America, she had me. I am the first Vietnamese American born. And I carry that weight with me proudly. And it wasn't even until I was adopted until I started becoming more proud about that, you know? When I was adopted, I quickly realized I miss fish sauce. So I couldn't deny that. But that's why everything means so much to me. And it just shows that it's proof that the people that you have in your life matters. It changed the course of my life. You have the choice to decide who you want in your life, whether it's blood or not. And since then, my family has become one blended family, and that is something that I feel so grateful and feel like it's a really beautiful story to see the 2 families come together. I also approach this philosophy in my friendships as well. It was very important to me to find people who were inspiring, ambitious, creative, resilient, and just supportive. And that's everything that I wanted to do and be for my friends as well. Don't miss out on all the cocos that they're holding. There's 5 cocos there. Here's the latest photo that we just took last month of my new best friends. If you look all the way to the right, the woman in the hat, my newest best friend of 3.5, 4 years, that's Taylor Shedd. She's in this room. Right here, raise your hand. She is the CEO of Stimuli. This company makes video games for the education system in the metaverse. The woman to her left is Ashkan Gora, who is also in this room, taking pictures. I keep my ladies real close. So it is important who you have as your friends, and you know, I'm almost 30 years old and I'm still making new best friends. The second thing that I did was to decide on my own personal style. I wear black every day. I love wearing black on black. And if you don't believe me, look at my closet. I'm not playing. I mean, I do have other favorite colors though. I love faded black, soft black, blue black, black black. But when I found my personal style and decided on that, that was when I felt like I was able to be more authentic with myself. Ironically, who can press play on that? Thank you. There we go. She beat you again.
I swear I...
It's a PC. Yeah. So this was when I was in high school. Ironically, I used to wear a lot of color because my Asian mom has every color in the rainbow in her closet, and it was really important for her, for our families to match like as a unit. But at some point when I left and went on my own, something just clicked. I decided I'm just gonna wear all black. And when I did that, it brought me so much peace within myself. It was the minimalism that really helped me figure out who I am. And I think, you know, a lot of people may think like wearing black is boring, but it's a discipline that I'm really proud of to keeping up with for the last better half of a decade. So when I found my personal style, it really translated into the work that I did. I started photographing things that I love, and Dallas responded. My business was growing. It didn't even stop during COVID. It just kept going up. And so this is actually one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. My fiance Daniel and my bestie Ash Kangora, we went to Vietnam in 2019 for a whole month. For the first time, I've never been before. I got to meet my family, and this photo was taken on my family's coffee farm. No lights, no editing. This was just a few minutes before the storm came through. So this is my favorite photo I've ever taken. I love doing the Dallas Observer covers because it's very conceptual work. So this is one of my favorite things to do. I work really well under pressure, and journalism has no short of deadlines. So these are some of my favorites. This photo right here is actually a rock that I have inside of my new compound. And then these are my portraits that I've taken. I would say portraits is probably my favorite thing to do. You know, I used to paint, I used to draw, I used to do collages, but I always like to make the joke that like paint just does not dry fast enough for me. And so when I picked up the camera, besides loving technology, I love that with a camera and as an artist, it's not a lonely art form. I can work with other people, as many people as I'd like. So I love photography because of that. And here's my food photography. I actually started taking pictures of food around 19 when I went on my own. And I started it because that was how I ate. So I ate a lot of leftovers, I boxed it up, and because of that, I've never learned how to cook. And the timing was perfect because when I did try to cook, I met my fiance who's a chef. That's what I get for trying. And this is really wild to me because I went from a starving artist to turning this into my bread and butter. Like, this is what paid for the house. When I first moved in with Connie and Dale, I took my photography a little bit more seriously. I did a project where I took a self-portrait every day. This is when I was learning how to use the camera as well. And this process really helped me begin my journey of self-acceptance. And I'm so glad that, and I only picked the best ones here. There's about 300 other ones. And it's wild because I didn't feel like I liked my work until like day 364. So it's sad that the project ended sooner, but it took a long time to get there. So I did this project then, and it really helped me heal and figure out who I was. I started this project again this year, January 1st, except it's a lot more realistic. And now that your girl has a job, responsibilities, a dog, and a man to take care of, it's a lot more realistic to do one self-portrait a week. So a lot of the photos that I have on here kind of represents what I've been going through the last couple of months. My Asian dad, who taught me a lot, he actually passed away a couple of months ago. So this is how I was able to kind of cope with the fact that the person who hurt me the most has also taught me the most. So it is important for you to figure out your style. And when I say figure it out, I mean you decide. You decide what you want your style to be. I wasn't looking for it. I just happened to wear black and I liked it, and I was like, okay, that's kind of different. That's kind of a weird choice to make, but it was a choice that really solidified my identity and who I am, and now my brand. The third thing that I did was commit to wellness. When I started my business, I quickly realized that you may be a business owner, but you're actually in the business of wellness, because when you're your own boss, you have to balance yourself out. You know, you can't call in for a sick day, you're not going to get paid that day. So I quickly learned that I had to keep myself healthy, to keep everything running myself. So in order to do that, I realized at a very young age and accepted the fact that I needed help, that I needed therapy. And I was fortunate to have the resources for my American parents to go to therapy starting at 15. We talked a lot. I still have the same therapist. And we did 7 years of talking before I decided to even take medication. I was 22 when I started taking PTSD medication, and that was when I think my whole life changed then. Because I worked so hard and I didn't understand why I wasn't where I wanted to be. But when I started taking this medication, it made me feel like myself. And it feels like I don't even take medication. It was like I was meeting my real self again for the first time. And I think there's a lot of stigmatism on medication, especially in the Asian community, even therapy alone. So not even just medication, but both. I realized that it was a chemical imbalance that I had that I needed help with, and I did those two things. Mental health is very important to me, just as much as physical health. I started as a boxer back in 2010, and within the last 4 years, I've been doing indoor cycling as my cardio. I just love cycling because there's AC, there's music, and it doesn't matter how far you ride, it doesn't double up your time to go back home. So I love indoor cycling, but exercise is really hard to keep within, to stay consistent in, but I gifted myself the gift of health on my 21st birthday. So instead of drinking, I said to myself, I want to be the best that I can be. Starting at 21, I had to attach it to something that was meaningful to me that I could remember for the rest of my life. So I wanted to be the best fit mentally and health-wise. And it is tough. It has been a long journey and it's changed a lot. But here are some of the things that I did to help me stay on track. One, I had to shift my paradigm. I had to accept that working out and exercise is a lifestyle. I know that my workouts are not going to look the same forever. I knew that I was going to discover new interests like pole dancing.
Me too. Me too.
Nice.
Where's the photo?
I have a video of me twirling. Need to get back into it. I had to accept it as a lifestyle. I knew I was going to do it forever. So, yeah, I just knew I couldn't run away from this. The other thing I did was I turned it into something social. I live a very high caliber lifestyle, so this is like my favorite way to hang out with my friends and family and new friends, if you guys want to come with. But it's a lot harder to cancel on 5 of your friends for a 7 a.m. ride than canceling on yourself. So it is another way to help yourself stay accountable for this. The other thing that I keep in my mind is that gap in between my workouts. I try to keep that gap as short as possible. So sometimes that might mean 3 days, sometimes that might mean 3 weeks because I'm traveling. But your girl will hop off a plane and hop right onto a bike. My team has seen that. So I try to make that gap as short as possible, and in between those gaps, you really have to be kind to yourself. Just because you didn't work out for 3 months doesn't mean that you failed. That's just that gap that you had during that time. And as long as you are trying to get back to it as soon as possible, this is forever in your life. This is a continuation. There is no end date for something like this. So it's hard to kind of quantify, you know, like I work out to feel good. I don't even weigh myself, so I don't even know. And both my mental health and my physical health, I knew it was important to do. I just didn't know what kind of trauma my body was holding. And this was something that helped me with that, to let that go, to be more comfortable with yourself, and just feel better about yourself. I actually just celebrated my 200th ride last month. Woo! At one of the cycling studios I go to. My story is about someone who came from a really dark place, and that person was able to find light again for themselves. And so it is just so important to find people in your life that will uplift you, people who care about you. It's important for you to be who you are. It's important for you to take care of yourself mentally and physically. And when you accept your authentic self, watch the world open up to you. And this is a quote that I have been going off of since junior high. Life is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. So accept who you are and watch the world open up, because nobody is you but you. Thank you. We have 10 minutes for Q&A, but before that, I just want to give a couple of quick shout-outs. Shout out to my fiance, shout out to the besties, Taylor, Ashley. Shout out to my business manager, Shanice. Shout out to my speaking coach, Hannah. And shout out to Nikki. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Thank you. All right. Get into it.
Not all at once. Marcelo?
A couple questions. One, is there a book that you're either reading right now or have read that you recommend for creatives? Can cover anything, wellness, creativity. Two, sources of inspiration for you. You said your favorite shot was that one in Vietnam, but just in general, what inspires you with your work?
Okay, I have to remember the names of the books, and maybe my partner can help me, but it was a book that talked about humanity from like the beginning to end. Yes! There we go. Perfect. You're a reader.
What's it called?
I can tell. What is the book called? Is that
Sapiens.
Yes, Sapiens.
By Yuval.
Yes. So my father-in-law actually got this book for me, and it was really eye-opening to just understand like where humans came from, how money evolved, how religion, got us here, how society has gotten here, and what we're different than other species is that we have imagination and we're able to believe. So we are able to come together as a group, and this has evolved humanity, for the rest of the life. So that's one of my favorite books. The second one, I have to remember the name as well, because I'm like reading it right now. It's yellow. And oh my God, this is my favorite book. This is my favorite book too, but I don't know the name of it. Yeah, I'll post about it. Okay, it's about being able to be aware of your intention and yourself. And this author, I feel bad because I know his name and I know the book, but I just can't remember it right now because you put me on the spot. But he is able to break down emotions in a simple way that is easy to understand. And so for me to be able to read something where I can identify my own feelings, that has really helped. So this is like a very different kind of self-help book. He got really popular because he wrote about these poems and little poems that he did on the grams. So that's one of my favorite books that I'm reading. He has 2 books. One just dropped. Like I said, it's yellow.
It's called Lighter by Young Pueblo.
Yes! It's by Young Pueblo, called Lighter. Still yellow. Yeah, so that's my favorite book. I love him. When I saw it, and this was only this past year that I started reading it too. And it brought me to be more present than I ever have been because of that book. Who's next? Shanice?
You have to answer what after you name me.
I know you speak loud, but
Thank you, Kathy. You mentioned friendships. Can you share, because I think in adulthood it is kind of challenging sometimes to make intentional, like you said, best friends, and we all know what a BFF is, you know, not just a regular friend. So can you give us some of your like traits or some of the things that you look for in adulthood that says like, hey, you are somebody that I want to take on this journey with me?
Okay, we could talk about my newest best friend in here. I know you asked me about for traits. I mentioned that earlier, which was people who are resilient, people who are inspiring and ambitious and kind, passionate, all of the good things. Besides those personality traits, and before I met my newest best friend, I was like, you know, I feel like I'm missing some characteristics in my life and my friendship group. I am looking for a best friend who is a business owner, a minority, a woman, and I need somebody gay in my life. And I thought, yeah, and I thought I was gonna find that in like multiple people, but when I was on a cruise with Bishop T.D. Jakes, my friend Taylor was on there because she was working on his wife's social media. So we were stuck on a cruise for 7 days together. And Taylor likes to tell this story too, but it was like 2 a.m.
Tell it?
I'm gonna tell it. But we were in like a hotel room at 2 a.m. Taylor and I have been stuck together for the last 6 days. I mean, the average age on this cruise was like 80 years old. So Taylor and I were like the only young people on the cruise. And I looked at her and I realized, man, this woman is amazing. I like her. And I asked her, Taylor, do you want to be best friends? We're like 30-something years old and I'm still asking if she wants to be my best friend. But it's just as simple as that. You know, I think best friends aren't meant for younger children, you know. So I would say don't be shy about making new best friends. I think it's really hard as an adult, and when I saw my opportunity with this lady, I was like, yeah, she's the one. She checks all of the boxes and more. And so that's how I made my best friend, by just asking, by being intentional about who I wanted in my life.
Thank you.
Hannah?
Kathy, we just heard about your transformation, which is amazing. So often we don't take the time to look at our own life and like where we've gone. So my question for you is, what's the one thing that you would tell Kathy 20 years ago, that 10-year-old little girl?
Thank you. What would I tell myself 20 years ago? The biggest thing is to be kind to yourself, because everything that I said in my head were things that I heard from my family, which is like, you're fat, you're worthless, you're stupid, how come you don't know how to do this? And that really played in my head for a really long time, so much so that I didn't even like notice it, because it played in the background, not until I went to therapy and realized that's not how you should be talking to yourself. So sometimes I even catch myself right now saying things like, girl, they don't want to hear you up there, you know, but I tell myself, hey, don't talk to your friend like that. So because of that, I have always been more aware of the things that I'm saying to myself, and I know where it's coming from. And so the biggest thing scientifically, if I would have known when I was younger, that is a cognitive behavior that you can change. You have a choice to change that. Once you hear it, you stop that, you put in a new voice, and you stay around other people who tell you nicer things to yourself. So that's what I keep in mind, and I wish I would have known, because I thought I was born that way. I thought I was like really dumb for a long time, and so now I don't. Also, no college degree. Still here. Nikki.
All right, so we have 5 minutes for questions. So my question for you is, what do you think about AI?
Oh.
My favorite topic. I know a lot of people, like especially photographers, illustrators, graphic designers, it's like a scary thing, right? Especially with all of the upgrades that Midjourney has been doing. I'm not afraid of it. I love AI. I have embraced it. I think it's a tool that you can use to help make your work a little bit faster. So some of my self-portraits, where's the, oh, I have the clicker. Let me go back. So that's the cool thing, is that back then on my 365 project, it took so long just to learn like Photoshop and make these photos. But with AI, I have been incorporating that into all of most of my self-portraits this year. So like on this side right here, this was about my dad's death. He was very Catholic. So I grew up Vietnamese Catholic. That's where I learned how to read and write Vietnamese. And he forced me to memorize all of the prayers. And so I wanted to make a piece about that. And so what I did was I typed into AI. I was looking for a colorful church with water on the ground reflecting with blue tone jewels, center aisle, mood and dark, 4K, epic. And that was the background that came out.
Wow.
And there were multiple ones, and it had like different colors and looks, but I picked that one because it fit what I was looking for. And then the second layer is a picture of me standing in what I wore at my dad's funeral. And I am holding this Bible that I put a light inside of my Bible, and that light illuminated my face. And then I had more lights in the back of me. I made it like blue, and I made it orange on both of these tube lights I have to match the lighting that I have with the AI background that I created. Another thing I did was I'm in the process of starting a YouTube channel, and so I created this like vintage TV, and I put my face up against my shower glass to get that kind of effect, and then I incorporate it. So I love AI. I see where it's going. It is very scary because I can see how it could get out of hand very quickly, but I think we have the responsibility of using it wisely. It's not something that we should be afraid of. This is like the next revolution that's happening, and there's ways that you can embrace it. Less than 5 minutes. What's your name?
Susan.
Susan, that's my other best friend's name.
So I just wanted to know, what are next steps for you? You mentioned the YouTube channel, but what's kind of in your future?
Okay, so since I recently bought my compound, it expanded my business. I have a photo studio, and I rent it out to like other photographers and videographers too. But creativity and wellness is really important to me. So with this space, I have been curating really special experiences like sound baths, which Leah here up in the front row hosted a class there last night on sound bath for the new moon. And we do yoga. I'm having a dog party there. You know, we're just doing a little bit of everything in that studio. So that's my new business, is just being able to create this community for other artists to be there and feel safe and accepted into these new experiences that I'm creating. That's my like physical business. That's where I'm going. But for myself, I don't want to be just known as a photographer. I don't want to be hired just because I'm a photographer. I'm hoping to be more open about myself and my story, and be more comfortable with expressing myself on the internet and have a bigger digital footprint. And I'm hoping to just really build my brand, and speaking here is one of those first steps. Calm down, I'm gonna get you next. But just building this personal brand for myself is a different journey, because I'm so used to doing work for other people, and I always capture other people's souls. And yes, while I did do that for my 365, I do want to turn my brand more into a business. So that's where I'm headed. Taylor?
Last question.
I think you are doing work, and even this conversation where you're like punching a dent in the world, whether you realize it or not. So my question for you is, what's the world going to say about you after you've done all the things that you want to do?
What is the world going to say about me? All right, so I have been thinking about my legacy. And the short of it is I want to be another Hello Kitty. I want to be a brand as big as Hello Kitty. So one of my dreams, especially wanting to be a mother and having a family one day, that's one of my biggest dreams, and I know that my work will evolve, especially when I become a parent. And so one of my long-term dreams is to create a children's book and tell this story about being Asian, woman, different, and really tell the story of my adoption. And I'm hoping that by getting into the children's book, I can help other younger girls that have felt very similar to me, especially in the Asian community, because, you know, art isn't a real career to some people, especially to my father-in-law when he first met me. He would say, like, no, what is your job really? Like, no, I really do press a button and make money off of that. So with this book, I hope that that lasts longer than me and leaves my mark behind, and I hope people remember not necessarily me, but the character that I end up drawing of myself as the Hello Kitty girl. Yeah. Thank you.